Big news for the meat industry this week. The World Health Organization added cured and processed meats to a list of carcinogenic substances that'll include alcohol, cigarettes, asbestos, and arsenic. Let's try to make sense of all this. Is it true? Does it mean no more bacon, no more hot dogs? With the latest now, Dr. Chaffoo joining us this morning. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning, Raoul.
Okay, what exactly are we talking about? Do we have to now stop eating all this altogether? Do we throw it all away, or is there kind of some leeway here?
Well, there is definitely leeway. In fact, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, which is part of the World Health Organization, looked at about 800 studies all across the world, and they determined that eating regular consumption of processed meats, and these are things like bacon, sausages, hot dogs, ham, bologna, tends to increase one's risk of developing certain kinds of cancer. Most of these being things like colorectal cancer, but there were also some associations or correlations with cancers like prostate cancer and pancreatic cancer, which, as we know, has a very poor prognosis. The study, though, came out to say, the IARC, it ended up saying, well, look, it's really, the correlation is somewhat weak, and if you're having regular consumption of about 1.8 ounces a day, you're looking at probably, for instance, one hot dog or two strips of bacon, you may be increasing your risk for those types of cancers by up to 18%. Now, to put that in perspective, Raoul, when we talk about tobacco smoke or cigarette smoking, smoking 3 cigarettes a day increases one's risk about 5-fold or 500% for developing cancer.
Wow.
And certainly we look at, although we said that there were about 34,000 cases worldwide a year that they think are associated with consumption of these processed meats, we found that that's actually pales in comparison when we look at tobacco, which is 1 million cases a year, and alcohol about 600,000 cases per year.
Yeah, 34,000 worldwide, a horrible number, but nothing close to the others. Let's talk about, this really turned heads because when the World Health Organization comes out and they make a big to-do about this announcement, however, this was not unanimous on their panel, so this leads us to believe, is meat, processed meats, are they getting a bad rap, and what was the motivation behind it, or was there anything, because it seems unusual that it was not unanimous here?
Correct, and you know, in most of these studies there's not oftentimes a unanimous decision that's made, but what we found is that there does seem to be some correlation. You know, we've known for years that any kind of processed
Not a good day for a bacon lover.
Well, yeah, exactly, for red meats and those sorts of things. We've seen the association between heart disease and diabetes, so we've known that there are risk factors associated with that. So now we're just seeing that there does seem to be some connection or correlation with processed meats, but the council was very clear to say that we're not talking about eliminating entirely, actually in moderation, small amounts.
So you have to take the study, and in terms of communicating this information to the public, it has to be done carefully.
It does.
Explain this to me, because the panel cited the study suggesting, you mentioned this, 3.5 ounces of red meat, an additional 3.5 ounces of red meat, and an additional 1.8 ounces of processed meat. Additional to what? Additional to 0, starting at not eating any at all?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the key here. So if you eat one hot dog and you could, the bottom line, the takeaway from this is what, doctor? We could still have bacon maybe once a week, twice a week, just not everything in moderation still?
Exactly. So basically, if we're looking at consumption of the amounts, that's the key issue, and regularity. So if you're taking small amounts of these, we certainly know that meat in general has a lot of health benefits in terms of protein, minerals, and vitamins. But there are some chemicals that are found in some of these processed meats, Raoul. There are some nitroso compounds, there are some aromatic hydrocarbons that are thought to be released, especially when you grill these meats, that are thought to be carcinogenic. And this is what the IARC came down on and identified as risk factors.
And good grief, what was the report that said hot dogs had 1 to 2% human DNA? What was that?
I'm having a problem hearing on this side. I'm sorry I didn't get that.
The report that the hot dogs, you know, people always question what's in a hot dog, and then the report recently said that 1 to 2% was human DNA. I read that and I said, what in the world does that mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry. All
right, we're having a problem with the connection here. Dr. Chaffoo, we thank you again for your expertise this morning. We appreciate it.